Hello again. Now, the country's scourge of gender-based violence is on the rise. In a space of just 2 days, 4 women have been brutally murdered in Durban. A police officer shot and killed his 2 girlfriends times at his home. In another incident, the bodies of 2 women were found dumped in a parking lot in Isipingo. Our reporter Lethiwe Mdluli has been tracing officials to get comment about these escalating GBV cases in Durban. She's joining us now from our studios in the city. Now, Lethiwe, good afternoon. You have spoken to the father of one of the young victims. How is the family doing following such a tragedy?
Well, Braden, it's a very sad situation that we're seeing here in Durban. I managed to track down one of the families of those young women who were brutally murdered by their boyfriend over the weekend. And the father that I spoke to, Oscar Msomi, says he is beyond devastated. He couldn't even put it into words how he's feeling. He actually relayed the story of how they found out that his daughter had been shot and killed, allegedly by this police officer. He says that they received a call around 12 p.m. at noon on Saturday, and that call was coming from his daughter's mother. It was basically just informing him that he quickly needs to make his way to Kwanyuswa because this is where this whole tragedy happened. And when they got there, they found police officers, police vans, and the community surrounding the house that his daughter was murdered in. And they had to identify her, and he says that he will never forget seeing his daughter in that state. What we do know about this case is that it's alleged that this police officer had 2 girlfriends, one of them being eNCA, who was 18 years old, and the other one being Isipingo, who was 24 years old. And I managed to speak to eNCA's family. And they are saying that what they know about this relationship is that this police officer was they describe him as a character, and he was known in the community. And they are saying that eNCA received a call from him, and he allegedly told her to make her way to him. He picked her up from her mother's house, and that's the last time the family saw her. And we do know from residents that at around 3 p.m. or around 2 p.m. on Saturday, they heard gunshots coming from the home of this police officer, and they then, hours later, saw police vans making their way to the house. It's alleged that the police officer shot eNCA and Isipingo 11 times, and one of the residents was relaying the information to the media and also to the police that hours later they saw police vans coming into his residence, and allegedly this police officer called his friends after shooting these young women, and they stayed there with the bodies for some time before the police were called. Of course, the residents are angry. The families are unable to even describe how they're feeling. Yesterday, the police officer made his first appearance in court. He has been remanded in custody, and we do know that he'll be making his second appearance in court next week, Wednesday. We spoke to IPID because the case has been referred to them because the suspect in this matter is this police officer. He's a 23-year-old police officer, and they did confirm that the women were found at his home, and they did confirm that they are allegedly his girlfriends, and that 11 bullets were found on scene. We spoke to the family about what they want to happen moving forward. Of course, they are saying that they want justice. This is what the father, Oscar Msomi, had to say about this tragedy.
What I'm hoping is anything that any other parent would hope for, is that justice is served, is that the court does the right thing, acts nobly. You see, this problem is, this case, the way it is, there's very little room that, well, at least in my layman's terms, there's very little room that a person can escape something like this. There are 2 ladies, young. Eldest is 24, youngest is 18. Very nimble in body size, small. Right? 2 cartridges found. At least how many? 11 cartridges. 11 cartridges found. And there's a man who was there, and when this thing happened, didn't do anything about it because whatever the reason is, until it came a point where he was arrested. So what do you think the answer is to this question? Well, what I really hope for is that there's justice served, that he ends up in jail, rots there perhaps. But more than that, I think there's a lesson to learn here. as men, I don't think that we've come to play. We've been told. It sort of sounds monotonous. It's just coming in and out. It's like when you're told that men should try and refrain from mistreating and abusing and hurting women. We hear it, but we don't understand it.
Yeah, very, very sad indeed, Lethiwe. Just recap for us then, what should we expect next to happen in this case? You've mentioned that IPD is also involved because this matter is involving a police officer.
Well, we did speak to the police here in KZN just to confirm if the police officer in question has been fired or even suspended from his job. And they are saying that because he's in custody, he will not be allowed back into his job. They are saying that there's going to be some time that's needed to process all the information that is coming through. But for now, he's in custody, and we are expecting for him to appear in court next week, Wednesday. In another matter, though, Braden, we heard of two women who were found dumped, whose bodies were found dumped in a parking lot in Isipingo. That also took place over the weekend, which has sent shockwaves around the residents of Isipingo. They are very, very angry over what is currently happening, and they are calling for justice in that matter as well. In this case, we do know that these women, a 30-year-old and her niece, who's only 17 years old, they were found murdered and dumped. Their bodies were naked when they were found, and they had bruises all over. It's believed that they were strangled to death. Now, the motive behind this killing is not known at this stage. I did have a chance to speak to the police here in KZN, who did share that they are still investigating the motive behind this. And we do know that no one has been arrested so far. So we went to Isipingo just to speak to residents and see how they're feeling following this discovery. And they are saying that they're quite scared that this kind of thing keeps on happening, because they are saying that this is not the first incident that they've heard of. There has been other murders that have gone unnoticed in the past. And right now, as a woman and as women in that area, they are feeling very unsafe, and they're quite angry because they are saying that the police have failed to do anything about the murders that have taken place prior, and also they do not believe that they'll be able to find the people who did this tragedy. And they are calling for the police to basically get involved and try and find the perpetrators of these murders. We also spoke to the KZN police spokesperson, Jainaka, a bit earlier on to find out more information about this case. Have they found anyone? Do they know what the motive behind the killing is? And this is what he had to say.
Well, police at Isipingo were informed of the two bodies that were found, were dumped in an abandoned parking lot by a driver of a bus. Was passing by, and he saw the bodies. The bodies were of two women, one that's 30 and one that's 17. Both victims live close to where the bodies were found in the area, and police were quickly able to contact the family, who positively identified them. So at this stage, the district task team is assisting the local detectives to investigate this matter. Also, detectives from the Provincial Organised Crime Unit are assisting them in gathering evidence in terms of tracing, trying to get as much evidence as possible to just to see where they were, because they were last seen the previous night at approximately 17:30, and the bodies were found at 7 o'clock in the morning. So for almost 12 hours they were not seen, and their whereabouts were unknown. A post-mortem is going to be conducted tomorrow, and we have arranged for a forensic team to be part of the post-mortem to gather all possible evidence that can try and link the perpetrators to this crime.